It's like, what is this, amateur hour? You shouldn't even have deleted it. You should have just left it and been like...
Is this live now?
Yeah, it's live.
What's live?
Yeah.
Oh, that's live?
So we're on, folks.
So I can share it.
Yeah, we're on.
Yes.
So welcome to Our Thoughts, Your Thoughts, a show where we talk about the things you want to talk about.
And the things you don't want to talk about.
Like, there's something today I definitely don't want to talk about, but we got to talk about, and we'll get there.
Boy. Probably.
Yeah, it's about empire and stuff like that.
Oh Lord. We'll touch on it quickly.
Yeah, but we have a special guest today.
Yes, we do.
Today we got Max. Max, tell us everything about yourself.
Everything?
No.
It's gonna be a long story.
First of all, thank you for coming through.
Oh no, thank you.
100%.
It's a long time coming, yo.
Yeah, it's true. Every time I see Jed, he's like, "Yeah, I want to have you on." I was like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, I want to have you on." Okay, when?
The first time I met Max was Jet brought us to a boxing fight, and you beat the bricks off this other girl.
I think my favorite part of that was when I spoke to Coach John, and he's like, "Yeah, she's a provincial champion," and I was like, "Who?" He's like, "The girl Max just beat up," and I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
damn, okay, all right."
She was 20 pounds heavier than me.
Yeah, she looked it.
We had to convince the Ontario judges to let the fight go. My coach literally, he looks at the head ref, because the head ref's like, "I can't let this happen. The weight difference is too big." And John looks at him, he's like, "Just let it happen." And then at the end of the fight, the head ref goes to John and he's like, "Yeah, I'm glad we let it go."
But honestly, it looked like you're kind of toying with her most of the fight. Like, you're enjoying yourself, you're enjoying the crowd.
Yeah. It was one of my more favorite.
Straight up.
It was and then I did that half cartwheel because she like pushed me and it was just big.
Yeah.
And then I remember my sister cheering actually, and then I was just having fun at that point because I could hear everyone just kind of like saying stuff. And
That's amazing.
And all that. So.
Yeah, it was a great night. Yeah. It was a summer day, right?
Yeah, it was. That day overall was just fantastic.
Fattening.
We went to Louis Pizza. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's put this into perspective, okay? You'll see, and we will introduce our dessert later. But we're eating dessert, and Max is eating a salad. Now, typically, that would be a cardinal rule on the panel, but Max is cutting. So
cutting weight.
So she is being disciplined. This is like a test of fortitude right now.
Yeah, big time.
But you know what? Kudos to you. And you know what? I feel bad for whoever comes across you next if you're making sacrifices like this.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, it was a great night, man. We ate well. We had fun. Shout out to Sarp.
Yeah, that was good.
We had a great night, and we watched.
It was a great night of fights.
A great night of fights.
Speaking of fights, how did you get into like fighting? Like, have you been fighting it forever?
No. My first fight actually was February 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, not that long ago. Just over 4 years now.
Why fighting?
Well, I've been in sports my entire life. Like, I was always a competitive athlete. But I always played team sports. I played a lot of soccer growing up, basketball, volleyball. Like every high school sports team, I was on it. But like, I'm hyper competitive, and a lot of time I was playing with girls that just weren't like, they didn't care if they lost. I care. I hate losing. So I started doing more individual sports, and when I was a senior, my high school got a wrestling coach. And so I jumped right into wrestling when he joined the school. So, and then that's around the same time actually, where, you know, when the UFC was like on Spike.
Yeah, like the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, the Ultimate Fighter. It was like a big deal that they were on cable, right? So this wrestling coach shows up at my school at around the same time I start watching the Ultimate Fighter on TV, and I'm watching these guys in a cage fighting and grappling and doing all this stuff. It's like, what the fuck is this? So I just got into it. It's funny because I never used to watch boxing growing up, but I would watch the cage fights. Like, I'd watch Ultimate Fighter and all that stuff. And then I started wrestling, got into wrestling. You know, I graduated high school after that, and it was like, okay, go go to university, get a degree, blah blah blah. It's actually like it was fun, but that part of my life is like the only time I wasn't a competitive athlete. And then when I was done and I got into the workforce, I was just bored out of my skull because I wasn't. All the stuff I was doing wasn't challenging enough. Because for me, it's like I gotta be mentally and physically challenged by something. Like it's so I literally Googled MMA gyms in Ottawa at the time.
Wow.
Nice.
And I wound up at this place that doesn't exist anymore. It went under like a while ago. But John was there and Aiden was there, my jiu-jitsu professor. Yeah. Eventually, they split from that school, and I just kind of followed Aiden, and then Aiden introduced me to John, and then now I'm with them, and yeah. I mean, fighting is just because when I was in wrestling, I liked how physical it was. And it was literally just like me, all of me pitted against all of someone else. Nobody else, like no team aspect, no nothing. It was like, nope, this is me versus you in every aspect, you know? Like
sounds like sex.
So
no team effort.
Like all of me, just all of me.
So I got to make a side note here because Max is a very humble person, and she said, yeah, you know, I went to school and I got a degree and blah, blah, blah. What do you have a degree in, Max?
I have a degree in aerospace engineering.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I just thought that just is like, blah, blah, blah. That's like that, like, I don't know, you don't watch Seinfeld. Nope. But there was an episode where they call it the yada yada episode. Yeah. Yeah, and they're like, people just, you know, so, you know, I wasn't with my girlfriend and I was at, you know, this friend's house and yada, 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 now my back hurts. Right? People were like, what's the yada yada? It's like, yeah, yada yada. So I was just like, that's what it reminded me of there for a second.
Damn.
But, you know, before we move forward, let's talk about these desserts, okay? I'm sorry, Max. But this is once again from one of our main suppliers, Lana from Oh My Cheesecakes. Oh my goodness. So the flavors we have today are carrot cake, salted caramel, creme brulee, maple dip. You can't get any more Canadian than that. And lemon blueberry. Now this one. Yeah. Now those who love cheesecake, so this is news for you too if you get the chance. Lana's actually going to be a vendor at the Ottawa Spring Craft Show this weekend on the 30th and 31st. She's got a couple of promos. First 3 people who show up to her booth get 3 free minis, and the next 10 people get 25% off their next online order. So if you get 25%, but you're cutting weight, you want to save it for later, bada bing, bada boom.
For the freezer.
There you go. In the freezer. There you go. There you go. Yeah. So, you know what? Click the like button for Lana. Let's share the show and get to it. So you were just talking to us about, you know, fighting and how you came into it. And what I just thought about was, you know, entrance music, right? During the boxing match and all that stuff. Yeah. So speaking of music, what's a song right now that you're vibing to? Or if they said, hey, you have a fight tomorrow, what's your entrance music?
It's so hard to pick a walkout song. It's so hard because you wanna pick something that motivates you, but not too much that your energy levels are too high and you just dump before you fight. So it's like happy medium. And everything I listen to right now is just to get me hyped for training. So like I don't know if I can use it for walkout, but I'm a huge fan of Natural by Imagine Dragons.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Nice. Good song. Good song. What about you, Rob? What song are you vibing to right now?
Cheesecake song? Speaking of walkout songs, you know who has one of the best ones? Ensign Silva.
Yes, he does.
With DMX.
Yeah, Ain't No Sunshine.
Ain't no sunshine when it's on. Because it starts out so slow. And it's kind of, it reminds me of what you're saying. It's like it's hype enough to get your adrenaline going, but slow enough to keep you balanced. Yeah.
So it's an upper and a downer.
I guess.
It's like a drug. I guess, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's like when I was in college, my favorite drink was a Red Bull and vodka. Bad idea. Ooh. Bad idea. It was one of those.
Like a song like that, like regardless if you're facing him, if you hear it, like it gets you in the mood, you know, to fight.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
You gotta find that.
Or just puts in a bad place. You know what I mean?
Mike Tyson had some crazy ones.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Sometimes he'd come out to no music, and sometimes just like screeching noises.
Yeah, that's a little bit. I finished his autobiography, by the way. That I get why his theme songs were like that, because he's special.
Crazy,
guy.
yeah.
Special guy. Not crazy. He's a special guy. But is that your song of the week?
Yeah. DMX.
Ain't No Sunshine. Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, I can't stop vibing to this song called "Fall" by DeVito. Did I give that song already?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I didn't. It's got a very island feel to it. So I'm starting to prepare myself mentally because I'm sick and tired of the shit. I'm tired of the snow. I'm tired of being cold. Every time we're like, oh, okay, we're on the home stretch, it snows. I'm like, I'm tired of it. So sometimes I just listen to that song and it brings me to a nice place, and then I wake up to reality. Usually a crying baby, but whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But it is going to pass. Like, I don't foresee a lot of -40, -20 coming soon. I think we're in the home stretch. Yeah. Cool.
All right, man. Oh, Lex said he likes that song. It's a great song.
Yeah, I love it.
It is a good
But
song.
speaking of walking out songs, somebody's walking out. I thought it was like I thought it was like fake news.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was because he was drunk. Because he was on Fallon. He was on Fallon
That's
one
true.
day. And I was like, he must be drunk, like drunk tweeting or whatever. There's no way.
Irish
Yeah.
people don't get drunk, though.
is that a stereotype?
What?
What?
What? Did we not just celebrate St. Patrick's Day like a week and a half ago?
So, but that's when he was on Fallon.
Well, so, hey, I tell people since we are all related in some way, shape, or form, #Sapiens. I always say I'm either I'm 1/64th or 1/128th Irish. Think
Okay.
about it.
Okay.
No?
Whatever
No?
you say.
No?
I don't know.
These are good as hell, by the way.
Yeah, they are.
Someday I'll eat them.
So sorry. You will.
Someday.
Sooner than later.
Yeah.
So Conor McGregor is retiring from the sport. GSP a couple weeks ago said he's retiring from the sport too. My question is it because is it a business move? Is it a strategy to get the fight that you want, or are they like truly retiring?
Combination, maybe. A lot of people think it's a business move because of what happened. Because they were trying to book him for a co-main event, and he said he'd only do it if he got shares in the company.
Who?
Conor. Because he the only way he'd be co-main and not main is if the UFC gave him shares. Because he wants to like own part of the business, right? So
That's too bad because the only way that can happen is you got to stay winning, and he hasn't won in a little bit. Like he still gets people coming, but at the same time, if they give him too much and he's not producing results in the ring, he could actually sink the ship, right? Like if the UFC's putting everything into him and he's not producing, he could be like being the face of the UFC. Like he could take them down, you know.
But I think the UFC has made that mistake in the past where they push a fighter instead of pushing their brand.
Yeah.
And then when someone loses, like when Ronda Rousey got the brakes beat off her,
man.
like it was like I could see Dana White just going like, "No, I'm melting!" Like when she ate that kick in the head, it was like,
Which
yeah.
But when that happened, that was the first time Conor lost too in the UFC. Yeah, that's when he lost against Diaz.
Was that on the same card?
No, it was around the same.
Oh, around the same time.
Same
It's true,
time.
yeah. It kind of within I think a year, it had happened. Not that Conor was fighting all that much, kind of anyway, but.
But Conor's he's a gifted promoter.
Yes.
I think does he deserve part of the UFC? Yeah, because he brought it to like this whole new level that it wasn't there before. And he's changed the way fighters promote fights. Like, do I agree with it? No. But is it lucrative in the short term? Yes.
Unless you're Colby Covington.
Oh my god.
That guy's just a terrible human being.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a douche.
He's a douchebag.
He's a douche. Like just like John Jones, guys like that will be the author of their own undoing, you know, and it's basically happening.
Yeah. I hope he fights like Ben Askren or something, because he'll just talk so much trash and be like, "I told you you were a bum," after he beats him, and just destroy him psychologically and just never be able to come back. Don't worry. It's not that I don't like Colby Covington. I just want, you know, what was that line
The
from Tam?
lead up would be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ben and
exactly.
Colby, oh my god, that would be entertaining.
But Ben
It would
is
be.
too like, he's too educated for that guy. Like he's too smart.
Yeah.
Like the back and forth, I see him winning all of it.
Boom, roasted. That's what
Yeah.
it would be.
Yeah. When he did that, I was just like, wow, I've never seen, because it's true, his type of trash talking is like, it's like educated trash talking.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's great because he's not sinking down to their level.
Exactly. I feel like he would insult the person, and then like they would go back and watch the tape and be like, "Wait a minute, he insulted me." You know what I mean? If he went like one of those, right? Oh man.
But going back to Conor, no matter how well he does, if he comes back, everybody knows he can't ever beat Khabib. Like he got murdered by Khabib. It wasn't like it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't like what happened with Nate Diaz or any of that. It's like he got beat. So no matter how big he talks, everybody knows that there's no way he could beat this
Because
guy.
you ran into the wrong guy. Like, no, but it's true. Like, there's some guys that'll go back and forth with you and, you know, make a fight and make it exciting and, you know, build it up. Like, the whole time that he was building the fight, he didn't realize that, like, yo, this guy is from, like, Dagestan. He's not understanding that you're not... You know what it reminds me of? Do you remember watching the movie No Country for Old Men?
Oh, my favorite movie. One of my favorite
movies, too, okay? So, the bad guy... have you seen it? Okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
you gotta watch it.
So I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's at one point where someone tells him, what's his name? Anton Chigurh. Someone tells him, they're like, you don't have to do this, and he just looks at me, he's like, I don't understand. What do you mean I don't have to do this?
Like
It's
the killer.
like the killer. He doesn't get it. Like he literally. So it's like Khabib. It's like, yo, it's just business, mate. He's like, what business?
Yeah.
What? It was the same thing. He's like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
You insulted my father and the rest of my family.
Yeah.
That is not business.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? The other interesting thing though is that there's this new development that he's being accused of sexual
I
assault
saw that.
in Ireland.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
That was like today that came out.
Yeah,
I
that
think.
just came out today.
Yeah.
Just came out today.
What about the retirement? When did that come out? Yesterday?
It was pretty like within a couple of hours of each other, like maybe 12 to 18 hours.
Cause and correlation?
I
That
don't
would
know.
be crazy.
I don't know,
And
we'll
something
see.
like that will not go away easily, especially with the.
But I don't know how things work back in Ireland though.
Well, it's not just Ireland. It's
Uh-huh.
it's his reputation in general.
Yeah, but look what he did in New York, and it did nothing.
Did nothing.
The dude actually committed a felon, and
But he committed a
wrist.
felony against other people just like him,
Fair.
and it's not an offense against a woman in the Me Too movement,
Fair enough.
Me Too era.
that does that.
Yeah.
Very true. Okay, so speaking of the
And
Me
he's
Too,
one of the most powerful men in sports, and
This is true.
richest.
This is true. He keeps it proper. See what I did there? Yeah. Such a nerd.
You could say it 12
No.
ways.
Hey, are we gonna keep going? You got
No,
one?
no,
You got
no,
one?
no. So that's a reference to Conor McGregor's whiskey. Proper.
It's not available in Canada yet, though.
Oh, then maybe that's a good idea to stay in business to grow it.
Wait, yeah, I think it's gradual. I think he's just
Yeah,
gradually.
it
putting
is
in
gradual. Like worldwide, it's
Yeah,
gradual.
because he
Yeah.
just released it. I think was it you telling me he just released it in Australia or something.
Yep.
So you know, good on him, man. Anyway, moving on. So we're talking about fighting. We're talking about competition. Now, we've been seeing in the news a lot recently, especially with the Me Too movement, the LGBTQ community, the trans community. Martina Navratilova, who's actually a tennis legend, okay? She's also a lesbian. So she talked about transgendered women in sports and how she believes that, like, it's cheating. right? And she got a lot of flack for it, right? Now, seeing as you're a competitor, okay, whether it's boxing or jiu-jitsu, what are your thoughts on that? Like, if you knew that, you know, oh, I'm fighting for you know, this tournament win or whatever, and you know that your opponent is a transgendered woman, like, how do you feel about that? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I'd have a problem with it.
Elaborate.
I would.
Yeah.
Especially at that point where it's like cash prizes, your reputation is what allows you to progress further and get more cash prizes. It's just, I've been reading a lot about, because for me it's the science. It's like, give me the facts about the actual differences, you know. And I was reading a lot about the science behind it, and a lot of it had to do with if they're doing like post-pubescent transitions, they still have that muscle development that they have as men.
Yeah.
And even though they take the hormones to suppress the testosterone, it's still like that lower level that they're at is still way above what the average female's at.
Yeah.
And like for me, as someone who would just be trying to earn their living off of competition, it's like going in with an advantage. They're going in with an advantage, and it's not that like I'm against them being athletes, but it's just I would think it'd be unfair for me, especially when my livelihood's on the line. You know,
in your life.
Yeah, for me as a fighter, you know, and like don't get me wrong, like I'm tough. I train with guys. I've been training with guys bigger and stronger than me this entire time. I spar predominantly with men, but when it comes to fighting, like even if I'm more skilled than them, they're bigger and they hit harder than I can. Like they can take my hit and not go down, but I take their hit, I go down. You know, like it's. And I remember like when the Fallon Fox thing happened, and I was like, geez, like she's freaking jacked. So like not only is she jacked already because she transitioned like later on in her life, but fighters cut weight. Like fighters cut weight to get down to weight classes. It's unfortunate in MMA because the weight classes are too far apart. But like so she's definitely like cutting down, and because she has all that muscle, it's easier to cut water weight. Which is why guys have an easier time doing it than women, because muscle holds on to more water. So she's already got this huge advantage over whoever she's fighting.
So what are like within competition? What would be some of the advantages that like a man or a transitional male will have against you?
Probably stamina, strength. Like the only advantage I could see me having is speed, because I would genuinely be smaller than them. But, you know, if I just try to base fighting off of speed alone, and I do everything I can to try to take them down with my punches, but I can't because they're bigger, like, I may be able to win on points if I can dodge them the entire time. But the second I'm in a bad position, like, I have to fight 100 times harder to get out of it. It's like even when I roll in jiu-jitsu, if I roll with guys who are similar in size to me, they're still a lot stronger than I. Like I'm a pretty strong female, but man, like the guy, like I try as hard as I can. I try to get myself as strong as possible. Holy, it's hard. It's really hard.
Sure. I think, like you said, with the whole Fallon Fox thing, for those who don't know about the Fallon Fox situation, it's a man who transitioned to being a woman and then started fighting
MMA.
for MMA. In the first fight, she broke the girl's orbital bone and gave her a concussion. What would people who, you know, say, oh, be inclusive, what would they have said if the girl died? What would they have said? And like you, I've been doing a lot of reading about this topic as well. And they were saying, for example, in certain competitions, everything's measured in nanomoles per liter. And they said for those who want to compete with women who are transgendered, it has to be 10 or less, I believe. That's the level.
Yeah.
But they say women, in like on average, they produce about 3.
At most.
At most.
3.
So 10, 3. And again, like Max said, it's, you know, post-pubescent, right? But how is that? How does that even make sense? And it's crazy that people think that that it's not unfair, right? And Kev mentioned, you know, or are there weight classes involved? Who cares? Like at the end of the day, this
They'll
this
have
person
an
has an advantage. And to me, the thing that kind of makes me laugh about it is you hear about this with men transitioning to women.
I was just gonna say
I don't see very often someone saying, I want to transition to being a man so I can play in the NFL. You could try, but it's a different story. It's like one of the things I was thinking about was look at just the 100-meter dash, for example. Okay, just looking at it from a world record perspective. Okay, the world record for the women has not changed since 1988 with FloJo. Okay, and I think,
didn't she get caught?
No, she passed. So nobody know. Like she passed pretty early, like early 40s, I think. So there was no, you know, maybe she was on something. They don't know, but who knows, right? Look at the evolution of the world record on the men's side. Okay, women, the record was like 10-7 or 10-6. Okay, that wouldn't even get you into the qualifiers on the men's side, right? Now, let's say someone runs like a 10-8, but can't qualify on the guy side, and then they're like, you know what, I want to transition to being a woman. How is that fair that you're running a 10-8, which is elite, but lower level for men? You transition, and then you're running that time, or maybe a little bit slower. Who knows? Because of the hormone treatments, I don't know. And then you get all the glory and start winning prizes and gold medals and all these different things and taking scholarships away from women, right?
But my question is, if it's unfair for them to compete against women, and they'll definitely be at a disadvantage competing against men, where do they go?
Create your own category. Create your own category. Yeah. I know people will be like, oh, you know, that's not fair, but you're not, you know, all women or all men. Like you fall somewhere in between. Yeah. That's the reality. It sounds, you know, some people will be like, oh, that's insensitive, but like you said, I'm a science-based person too. Yeah. It's mathematics. Like what percentage of an advantage are you gonna have? If you have a disadvantage versus another man, but you were born a man, then you're just not that good. Just like if I was born a woman and I'm competing against a woman and I keep losing, I'm just not that good. That's it. It's not. It has nothing to do with, oh, you know, if I transition to this, transition to that. And I remember one of the articles I read, they were talking about a transition woman who won like a weightlifting competition. She had been lifting for a year.
Oh yeah,
that's it.
Destroyed everyone.
She destroyed everyone. She had been lifting for a year. Do you know how pissed you would be if you were a woman and you were working for like 5-6 years, and then a transgendered woman comes in and wins the competition having lifted for a year because they have a physical advantage? Ah, man, I don't even see how, like, at the same time, I feel like some people are just kind of like, oh, you know, they want to just fight for a cause, but at the same time, it's like, it's not fair.
That bothers me, though.
Well, you know what? Okay, they might have that advantage over other people, but look at the size differences in boxing. Earlier, we talked about Tyson. Tyson was one of the smallest heavyweights, period. Fighting against guys who are like 6'3", 6'4", 240, 250 pounds. He was like, at the peak, he was like 211. You know, and that's him being super jacked. Yeah. But he's nowhere near being like 6 foot. He didn't have a size advantage.
But I hear you. He may not have had a size advantage, but his testosterone levels, which determine his strength and his speed, you know, and all those things, was comparable, if not higher, maybe a little bit lower. Who knows? But in stature, they were different, right? That's like thinking, oh, if a woman is a bigger size than the other woman, like, is she creating more estrogen than the next or less testosterone than the next? It doesn't mean that, right? It's just that you're still on the level playing field, and then other factors come into play, right? Like natural God-given ability, DNA, right? Like if you look at, for example, if you take Bob, who's been cleaning shoes his entire life, and Mary, who's I don't know, been a babysitter her entire life, is her kid, sometimes it happens, but is her kid from a potential standpoint going to be as good of an athlete as someone whose dad played pro and mom played pro? Right? Like, that's a DNA thing. It doesn't mean the testosterone levels are different. If they are, maybe they fluctuate a little bit, but it doesn't mean that, automatically this person's better. Here we're talking about biology, like full-on biology. Like, my biology, if I went through puberty, I have an advantage right away. And it's interesting because Kev's saying, what I'm suggesting with regards to, having them have their own category. He's like, that's discrimination against the Canadian laws. And I'm saying, okay, find an alternative, because it's not fair to women. Yeah, that to me, that's the big thing. It's not fair to women. And some people will say, like, oh, why are women complaining? It's just a game. It's like, no. Why is it so competitive when it's men, but when it's women, it's like, just deal with it. It's just a game. Yeah. That's BS, right?
It's already hard enough for women to, like, as pro athletes, to feel like equals to men when it comes to being televised and the pay and just being noticed. It's already hard enough to get noticed, let alone, like, someone were to come in and just destroy all of that. Yeah. And it's just, like, honestly, it comes down to politics, and politics have no business in competitive sports. Same like they got no business in the bedroom and school. Like really, politics have no business being in it. And I'm not anti. Like, I'm gay. Like, I'm not anti-trans or anything. But like, man, if I could make money fighting, and then I could potentially lose all that money because of someone else who just isn't a female. Like, are you kidding me? Like, no way.
Wow. 100% agree. And Kev's saying, trans women are on estrogen and test blockers. Hormonally, they are at a disadvantage. No, they're not, because as soon as you hit puberty, you are already at an advantage. The scientists back that up. And a trans woman is a woman. No one said a trans woman is not a woman. But on the competitive field, it's just, they could be a woman, but it's an uneven woman, right? That's when they were starting to say, what's going to start happening is that women who are not trans, then they're going to start thinking, do I start taking performance enhancers? Because I have to level the playing field? Like, do I have to take steroids? Do I have to take testosterone? Do I have to take HGH? Like, is that what I have to do, right?
Yeah.
So,
like, I can't imagine the WNBA. A lot of the women can't even dunk.
Yeah.
Imagine a transitional female comes in and just takes over and starts dunking on everybody.
Joanna Man? I remember that movie. But that wasn't like transition. That was someone who, it was a comedy and all that stuff. Yeah. But essentially, someone who has an advantage.
Like, I'm just thinking about, even for my kids, what if one of your kids grow up and says they want to go play with the women or the female side, and wants to transition? What do you tell your kid then?
I tell them, if you want to transition, that's a touchy subject. I don't know. Like, it's one of those things, because you want to show your kid that you love them no matter what. But from a competitive level, I'd just be like, I would tell my kid, you're cheating.
Oh, yeah,
I would.
Like, at that point, I would say do it recreationally.
Yeah.
Don't do it where it could impact someone, like a competitive athlete's ability to move upwards in their career. Just do it on a recreational level where like that statement where they're saying, oh, it's just a game, it's just for fun. Fine, then do the recreational side of it where it's just for fun.
So, Mom, you're telling me not to follow my dream?
At that point, you have to make a choice. Then you have like a serious choice to make. You choose between how you want to live your life as far as like how you identify as a person, or if you want to be a competitive athlete. Yeah, that's where I would like draw the line. Like,
there's the world's strongest man who transitioned into a female. Could he now compete in the female strong woman competition?
There's some,
and he's
rules.
Held records.
There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of rules depending on the governing body of that sport. Like, a lot of sports are like, okay, they should have been transitioned and undergoing hormone replacement therapy and so on for a year and test under a specific number. Yeah. Some competitions, I think it might be bodybuilding, they said there's some competitions where if you transition before puberty, then there's no restriction. You could just go.
So explain that puberty stuff for people like me who don't understand the difference.
If your balls drop and then you decide to become a woman, it's unfair because you produce way more testosterone. That's in a nutshell.
I didn't think that's how you're gonna drop it on.
I kind of shocked you there. My bad.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
So, Kev's saying here again, he's like, he feels like all the fears are irrational, yada yada. It's like, but it's becoming more prevalent. That's the thing. Like in the news, you hear of a state wrestling champion who's a transgender woman. Those two sprinters in Connecticut, I think they came in first and second place. Were both transition. You hear about weightlifters. Like, it's becoming more prevalent. So, and the thing is, people will do that. I'm not saying that's their motives. They have whatever they're thinking about and whatever their feelings are in terms of wanting to transition. But some people will do this stuff for money, Like if there's a lot of money involved, people have done less for money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know it's a dangerous procedure and so on and so forth, but people have done this for money. And I think it's not cool to do that to the women who are working their butts off and having someone start at the 50-meter mark in a 100-meter race.
But isn't that life though?
Maybe, but sometimes.
Yeah, but you can say the same thing though about isn't that life like not allowing them to compete? Isn't that like
Exactly.
the unfair thing swings both ways?
Exactly.
And the thing is, at the end of the day, just like anything, you're not going to please everyone.
Exactly.
You cannot please everyone.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. So the funny part about this is that we're talking about this on social media. So clearly it's stimulating, feelings, it's stimulating thoughts, it's creating debates and so on and so forth. It's funny that there was a research study that just came out like a little while ago, and they were talking about social media, but like as a contagion, as a disease, in the sense that if you, let's say, wake up in the morning and you're feeling kind of down, if you go on social media and you see a couple of stories of people feeling down or news stories, things happening in the world, chances are you will feel even more down.
Yeah.
Right? To some people it's shocking, to some people it isn't. But what are your thoughts when you hear about this whole social media is, a disease at this point, and some people are just like really pacifists and they're like, social media, like it doesn't affect me.
It depends on the person. Like, to be honest, I've had days where I go on Facebook. Like, I don't have a lot of stuff. Like, I go on Facebook, and I see some of the friends I went to school with, like other people graduated in engineering, and it's just like pictures of them with their brand new houses and their vacations and this and that, and then I start feeling like, oh man, they have all this stuff and they're doing all this stuff, and I'm like, man, and then I just turn it off. I'm like, because the number one thing that I keep telling myself is like, do not compare yourself to other people on social media.
That's hard to do.
Rabbit hole that just will destroy like everything about you. So like I'm on it, but I'm not on it. Like it's tough.
Like I mentioned on the show last week that like a lot of the people were saying that there's a new female midlife crisis that's happening exactly based on what you just said. They look at what other people have and say, like, when they're like 35 or whatever, say, I don't have this yet. I don't have that yet. I should be here. I should be there. And then they kind of lose their shits because of that. But I feel like with the whole idea of social media is the same thing with what we're eating today, is in moderation. Like, you got to take everything in moderation. Like, you can't just be on a diet all the time. You lose your shit.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah. Right? Like, just like sugar. Sugar is nice and it tastes good in your mouth, but you can't take too much of that. Something bad is going to happen. So you got to take it, like, in moderation. Like, so it's been almost 2 weeks that I've been off social media completely. And I got to tell you, man, I feel so much better. Like, I had the urge all the time to just take my phone and just, like, swipe through mindlessly. now that I don't have that, like I don't have any social media apps on my phone, like even down to WhatsApp.
I tried to send him a WhatsApp. It's like, I'm like, WhatsApp is like texting. I don't know what is going on.
I just want it off just to see, but the habit is still there of just without even thinking, just picking up my phone to check.
Yeah.
But because I have nothing, I was like, oh, okay, I just put it back. But what happens is I get more time to focus on me. Yeah. So like with what you're saying, I'm not seeing what others are doing, so I don't even have the chance to compare myself to anyone else. Like I get the chance to be like, oh, okay, so what's on my to-do list for today? You know, and I'm able to focus a lot more as opposed to thinking about all sorts of stuff that I actually don't care about. You know, like all this other stuff, right? If there's news that everybody needs to know, regardless, you're gonna get to know it. You're gonna hear somebody talk about it. Yeah. Like with the whole Jussie Smollett thing.
Oh Lord.
Or even Conor. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even on social media and I heard of it. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. So like I feel like social media is supposed to bring people together, but it doesn't. What it does is it creates this situation where we're able to be lonely together, right? Yeah. But now what happens with me without social media, I get more calls. Mm-hmm. I get to interact with people like one-on-one more often. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm able to just chill and do things, and as opposed to just press the like button on your thing, and that to me is like, oh, that's my fill of jet for today.
I am a lot though. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I'm joking. Don't worry. I'm not butthurt. Don't worry.
What are your thoughts, man?
Well, DJ brings up a good point. He says we live our lives based on other people's reactions, regardless of social media. That I also think depends on the person, because I know for me, sometimes I get sucked into that rabbit hole. 100%. Like when I see someone say some dumb shit, I'm just like, I gotta say something.
You can't help it.
I can't help it. You know what I mean? I'm like you say, like I'm allergic to bullshit. Like I gotta say something, okay? But you know, at the same time, a lot of times I'm on social media just because I distract myself with dumb shit. But I agree with you that when I do put my phone on, like I want to read something, it's like, oh my god, like I'm so much more focused or concentrated. Like when I'm on my commute to work every morning, I'm usually listening to some type of audiobook. I'm not thinking about social media. I'm not even there. I'm looking at the trees. I'm thinking of a book. Like right now I'm listening. It's an oldie but a goodie. I'm just listening to it again. Lord of the Flies. Right now I'm listening to it again because I know it. It's good.
I read it in high school.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I read it in high school, so now I want to read it as an adult.
To understand it.
No, I feel like I understood it back then, but now I want to like see like, okay, how will I view what happened in this situation versus this situation, right? And like you said, Max, I think it depends on the person too, right? Mm-hmm. Like if I see someone with like 6-pack and abs and stuff like guy, I know that's not gonna happen to me. I don't care. I'm living my best life. I'm okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if someone has a lot of things, I can use it as inspiration. But I've never personally, anyone who knows me, I've never been a person who's envious. Mm-hmm. I'm always like, oh man, yo, you got this? Yo, that's dope.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, I use that as inspiration for me to, go down my path. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think it's very dependent, like you said, on who the person is. But it is very easy to get sucked down that rabbit hole, for sure.
But also, people are not necessarily putting out all their business. Like you might see them with that nice new house and whatever, right? But the thing that you don't realize that you're much more happier than they are. Yeah. Right, you that your relationship is better, and your relationships with your with your gym, you have a family there that they may not have, where they're spending all their time working because of that. Those material things, right?
That's exactly what I think about. Like I see that stuff and I'm like, oh, it's a cool house and all that, and I'm like, I don't want to work a 12-hour job for that. No, I like training and fighting. I think that's what it is.
100%. 100%.
Like I was talking with Kara, and I was telling her this. Like we're thinking about moving, right, to get a bigger house, and then I was like why? Like I'd rather do more shit. I'd rather do more stuff, and and the house we got. Why don't we spend more time making it more of what we like it to be, as opposed to just getting something else just because that's what everybody else is doing, you know? Yeah. Like I think it's more important to put our stamp on it or find a way for us to express ourselves in a very unique way, whether it's decorating or whether it's just traveling or going out or being out. Like when I've traveled to like third world countries, most people don't spend time inside the house. They spend time outside, socializing with others, because that's where true richness comes from, right? Like from us talking and changing ideas and stuff like that, right? But I feel like if you look at what others are doing on social media, they're only showing you like just the tip of the iceberg, which a lot of time is supposed to dupe you into thinking everything is awesome.
But I think that people, okay, so there's almost like a sense of voyeurism now, right, with social media. I think one of the reasons that seeing people in such negative positions is a popular thing is because it helps people feel better about themselves, right? Like when someone shows you like a real, again, you know, so like reality TV, and they show like, oh, this person is going through this thing, this person is going through this thing. People can't help but not turn away because they're like, at least I'm not in that situation, so that makes me feel better.
But that's temporary because you're still
like drugs.
Yeah, you're
it's the same
still
thing.
In the
It's the same thing. People want that hit of something. You know, if I feel good, and then you know, half an hour later, oh, you know, like that's what people want. They want a hit of something like that to make them feel good. Right, so really, it is a drug.
It is like because the same hormones get released in your body. Yeah. From drugs or from being on your phone. It's the same thing. You get
or sugar.
Well, sugar's not a drug. You should
what?
quit it.
What? Sugar's more addictive than crack, bro.
Listen, let's move on, man.
So speaking of addiction, okay.
When are we gonna talk about Smollett?
Yo, let's leave Smollett alone. We'll bring it up at a later date.
I think that's what it is. They're gonna leave him alone regardless.
Yeah, that one reeks of like publicity stunt. But anyway,
yeah.
So we're talking about addictions, whether it be mini cheesecakes, whether it be fighting, whether it be sugar, whatever it is. Cam Newton was on James Corden last week, I think, and he's doing a challenge every month where he gives something up. So first month, I think he said he gave up gambling, I think. Second month, he gave up... Oh, he was a vegan for the month. And this month...
So he gave up being vegan?
As soon as March 1st rolled around, I guess. Then he also... what's it called? Oh, so for March, he's giving up climaxing for the whole month. The look on your face is classic. Classic.
Well, we had to make it more specific.
Yeah, well, that's what he said. Those were his words. He's like, he's giving up climaxing. I don't know why you want to walk around with blue balls, but whatever. He's saying he's not climaxing. So, what do you think would be the hardest thing if you went through this type of challenge? No pun intended. No pun intended. Didn't even mean to do that. Didn't even mean to do that. Didn't even mean to do that. Okay. What would be the most difficult thing to give up for a month? I'm gonna leave this one to you.
Who's going through that shit right
now? I've spent 6 weeks doing the most difficult thing ever, which is giving up foods that oh man, honestly,
what are you eating now?
Protein and vegetables, and so I can't use. I make my own sauces for stuff, but I usually cook a lot with spices, so I can't use anything like pre-bought. That's it's not that I can't. There are some good sauce bases I can get that are olive oil based, but proteins, vegetables. A couple of starches. I'm allowed to have a little bit of fruit and nuts, and that's it. I can't have essentially anything that is like pre-packaged, like granola bars or chips or anything sweet, like sweets. I cannot have any of it, and I have not had any of it.
Like I said, I do not want to be your next opponent, whether it be BJJ, boxing, whatever.
Oh my god, it's motivation for sure.
I feel bad for them. I feel bad for them. What about you, Rob? You're doing social media right now. You already mentioned.
Yeah, but it's just, I just had to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was something I feel like I like. You know what? Maybe a month ago I'd say that would be hard, but it depends what you want to achieve in your life, right?
True.
Like I just wanna be as clear and focused as possible, and I'm trying to get rid of everything that's in that way. That's a distraction, you know. But I don't know, man. Like maybe being away from my kids for like a month would be extremely hard, and I'm not sure if I want to do that. Like, especially at this point in their lives, a month is like forever to them, right? Because they can't fathom how long 30 days might be when they don't know when daddy is there or not there.
Yeah,
but I don't know, man. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. Like I've given up just shopping. You know what? Books. Like reading. I think that would be tough.
That'd be tough to not read?
Oh, that would be tough to not read a book or buy a book. Because that's the only real vice I have that I feel like I can't, like, it's non-negotiable.
Okay.
You know, like, I'm always trying to keep my head down in some sort of knowledge, you know, trying to understand. Yeah. But I think spending a month without getting a new book, that would be tough.
That'd be tough.
Yeah.
So Lex has one. He says, I got one for you guys. Not doing your show for a month. Because we've been pretty consistent for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
But we almost went a month. Where we did, because my kid was born. Yeah, my kid was born, and there was a holiday.
Lex, like 3 weeks.
Yeah, Lex, we did like 3-4 weeks where we didn't do any. It must have been at least 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was at least 4 weeks because but all it took was the birth of a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to miss 2 shows. I think it was 2 shows in a row.
It was 2 shows in a row, and we did them every 2 weeks. So it was 4 weeks.
So it was a month. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's true.
For me, listening to music. That would be rough. Like, just for a month, all I hear are like sounds of people talking and just sounds in general. Like no music, no nothing. That would be tough. The only reason I say that is because I don't want my wife to be like, what the hell? You can't do music, but you can do without me for a month. No, you know why? It's because
because you're bringing that out.
Yeah,
that means you thought about it.
No, I did think about it, but then I thought, you know what? I studied abroad for a month, so I was away from her for a month. With the kids, it'd be a little bit harder.
Yeah,
but I did study abroad, so I was away from her for a month, and it was cool. Like we talked all the time, so I survived that. But not listening to music. Maybe TV too. Oh. Like watch no Netflix, no YouTube shows, no nothing. That would be interesting as well.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. But
no documentaries, nothing.
Yeah.
Right, so
but the books thing has made me stop listening to music. Because every time I listen to music now, I feel like, man, that's like 10 minutes I could have gotten in my book.
Yeah.
Like on Audible, right?
Yeah.
So it's like all this, I feel like it's mindless.
Yeah.
I'm not getting any return. Right?
Yeah.
Because there's something I started, and it's called a commonplace book. It's kind of like putting all your ideas into one place. So I use like a Word doc for that.
Yeah.
So every time I hear a new idea or something in a book that I'm reading, I just write it down in that place. So I can like formulate where like my knowledge base is the coolest thing. Like try doing something like that where every concept that you come up with in your mind, you write it all in the same place. And then if you read something, you write it all. If Hari, the nutritionist, says something that's interesting, you put it all there. Yeah. And sometimes it's so cool to go back and revisit that, and you're like, oh snap, I'm having an issue right now, and I had the answer for it for a long time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
So we have some interesting comments here. So Eric Sampson, that's one of you people.
Oh yeah, Eric.
Yeah.
What up? What up? What up, Eric?
What up, Eric?
Yeah.
So he mentioned that he had to be abstinent for 2 months due to a seizure, pre and post surgery. So he had to avoid that so that he, obviously doesn't get another seizure. And he said it was brutal in capital letters. In capital letters. And Joel said, yeah, same thing with me. If he couldn't listen to music, like it would kill him. Yeah. So I feel like, well, that's one of the things that unite people, right? Sex, music, and
rock and roll.
Food. Is that what it means? Food?
Yeah. Uniting people.
Yeah.
The arts, essentially.
The arts. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's cool.
Yeah,
but it's a hard thing. But I think we should all go through that at some point.
Yeah. Also, Kevin said Smollett is innocent. All right.
Yeah, but does it matter now?
Okay, make one comment on the situation
that I haven't made yet.
Yeah, just one comment.
Regardless, innocent or guilty, he's done.
Okay.
He'll never escape.
Okay.
From that.
My one comment is, whether he's innocent or not, I still smell a rat somewhere, because this day and age where we talked about social media, for no one to see nothing, no closed caption video to see nothing, it's crazy. And he was canceled when he called himself the gay Tupac. That was it for me. When he exactly. That was everyone's reaction. You don't get jumped and then try and boost yourself up and then feel good about yourself to the point that you say, I'm the gay Tupac. On why? Under what context? That makes no sense. After he said that, I was done. I was canceled. I was like, you're canceled. I'm done. You're trying to compare yourself to one of the greatest, rappers, of all time, after you got jumped where there's no witnesses and nobody knows where it happened, how it happened. No, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm
but
done with him.
It's unfortunate, but what I heard was he probably got off because he showed that he was very sympathetic, or he just somehow pleaded guilty or something like that.
Or that it's the Chicago PD and they're the Chicago PD, they always have something swirling around. We had this guy in custody and some way, somehow his spine broke and then he died, but we don't know what happened. We're going to plead the fifth on this one. So they were the ones investigating this case, so that didn't help the situation either. Eric says hi, by the way. Says he misses you and the gang.
Oh, we miss you too, man.
Yeah.
We miss you too.
So, that's the show.
So, Max, when's your next fight?
My next fight is hopefully May 24th.
Well, that's soon.
And hopefully it's my pro debut in MMA.
Yo, respect.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I like that.
That's the plan. There's a lot of wheels in motion right now.
I like that. So we will keep you guys posted so that you guys could show some support, show some love, and watch Max beat the brakes off someone.
140.
I'd be fighting at 135.
135.
Which is why I'm working my way down to walk around at 145.
Wow.
I was 148 when I was 10 years old.
Oh my god. That makes me feel, I don't know.
Man.
Oh man, that is terrible. That is terrible.
Yeah.
But that's what McDonald's combined with Haitian food will do to you as a 10-year-old.
So let us know when and where.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully it's in town and we can all go to watch it.
Yeah,
that'll be dope.
Yeah, it would be local,
for sure. Once again, shout out to Lana of Oh My Cheesecakes. They were delicious once again. Make sure you check her out at the Ottawa Spring Crafts Show this weekend at the Centurion Conference Center. If I could, I would go, but I got 4 kids to watch and just busy with life in general. So show her some love if you guys are out there, because they're delicious. They're delicious. All right, so any other words? What was your song again? Ain't No Sunshine?
Ain't No Sunshine.
And your song was?
Natural.
Imagine Dragons. And mine is Fall by DeVito.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the show. Make sure you guys share the show. Yo, this was a great conversation. I never saw at one point the views go under like 10 to 15, which means everyone was engaged. Thank you to our fantastic guest. Hopefully we'll have you back.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Maybe
when
after
you're
the
not
fight.
cutting. When you're not cutting.
Yeah, well, I can just like go all out for like a week. Yeah.
But we won't have a show next week. Again, life is in the way. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Jet's having another baby.
No, whoa. Yo, people would believe you too, huh? People would believe you.
With my condition, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man. And so we'll be back in 2 weeks. In the meantime, share the show, like the show. Make sure, and hey, you know what? If you can't watch the entire video, remember this is a podcast, so you can find it everywhere. And just let your friends know about it, especially a conversation like this, which is so polarizing. It's interesting to see people's thought process and all that good stuff.
So the show is Our Thoughts, Your Thoughts. It's the world current events brought to you by two suburban black men.
That's it. Two suburban black men. All right, man.
Anyway,
you guys take care. Have a good night. Stay blessed.
Good luck, Max.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's gonna be dope, man. I'm looking forward to it.
How is it when you have like your family coming through to watch you fight?
I try not to think about who's there. I listen for. I can pinpoint them in the crowd if they're yelling at me.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, I can tell. I tune out everyone except for the people I know would motivate me if I heard them, and my coach. Everyone else I just tune out.
How do you do that?
I don't know. I've been competing for a long time, like in front of people. So actually, the coolest fight I had was in Peterborough, and the fight was in this like music hall, and it was almost it was really small, but it's built vertical, so it's almost like a gladiator kind of stadium where there's like 3 different levels of people watching, and there's like 300 people crammed into this place watching us fight.
Wow. And
the ring is like in the bottom part, just in front of the stage.
That's
and
cool.
I warmed up in like this little like a spot the size of your bathroom is where I warmed up.
Wow.
Next to like empty beer bottle cases and stuff like that. And then I go out and all these people are just yelling like, oh man, it was so cool. But I tuned them all out and just heard my coach. I just heard my coach.
So what goes through your mind when you're fighting? Like,
it's so hard to describe. It's a whole lot of like trying to just stay calm the whole time, because you're almost like the more you fight, the less you get that fight or flight instinct that kicks in. Like you just have the fight instinct. Like you're not afraid of anything. Like you're not afraid of running. You don't want to run. You want to fight. You want to get in their face. The whole time I'm going through it, when I fight, it's just that I fucking hate losing. I hate losing more than I like winning, and I am not fucking losing to this girl. Like that's all I think about is the fact that I do not want to lose to this chick. Also, I don't like getting punched in the face. No one does. Yeah. No fighter enjoys getting punched in the face.
Justin Gaethje.
Like, some of them, it's just like they're okay with it. Like, no. Like, if you hit me, I take that personal that you actually hit me. Like, fuck, I'm gonna deliver that back to you like tenfold if I can. You know, like.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Don't get punched in the face.